Hello guys, today I'm going to show you about an opening and also with some example games. Today we are going to see about the Caro Kann defense. Actually I wanted to show this opening because it's a very reliable and solid opening for black. This opening was actually introduced by the German players G. Caro and M. Kann in the 19th century. This considered to be a very reliable and though bit passive for black. The Caro Kann defense is a good opening for positional players. It was employed with great success by the world champions Capablanca, Botvinnik, Petrosian, and Karpov in one of its modern exponents. And I'll show you a glimpse of Caro Kann in the Capablanca variation. Just quickly I'll show you that e4 c6 d4 d5 knight c3 d takes e4 d takes e4 knight takes e4 bishop f5 knight g3 bishop g6 h4 h6 knight f3 knight d7 h5 bishop h7 bishop d3 bishop takes d3 queen takes d3 e6 bishop d2 bishop knight gf6 castle long bishop e7 king b1 short castle knight e4 knight takes e4 queen takes e4 knight f6 queen e2 queen d5 bishop e3 knight g4 bishop c1 rook fd8 knight e5 knight takes e5 d takes e5 queen b5 queen takes b5 c takes b5 c3 king f8 and king c2 king rooks a c8 g4 b4. And guys, this I just wanted to show you a glimpse of this opening. There are various possibilities in this opening, this same variation, and there are also many other opening variations like the advanced Caro Kann and the exchange and the Pano Botvinnik attack. I'll be showing all of them. Okay, now let's return to the initial position. So guys, now I'm going to tell you about the Capablanca variation, and after you see after this and bishop g6, and this is the starting position of the Capablanca variation, which has a reputation of one of the most reliable continuations for black. Black has solved the c8 bishop's development problem, but white has obtained more space in the center with the d4 pawn against the black's pawns on c6 and e6. A game may develop in two directions. First, the white may develop his g1 knight to f4 via e2 for attacking the g6 bishop and also the e6 pawn. Both will be attacked. The idea of white would be to attack the g6 pawn and in g6 bishop and e6 pawn through knight ge2 and knight f4. And then the second idea for white is to develop his knight, normally develop his knight to the natural square f3 and to occupy the e5 outpost. So these are the two plans for white, and I'll show you the knight transfer to the f4 square. So after this, white doesn't goes for h4. His natural move would be h4 here, but instead of going h4, after bishop g6, he goes knight to e2. The g1 knight goes to e2, and after that, guys, I want to show you that h6. You should not play h6 here. h6 is a mistake. I'll show you why. After h6, knight f4, and you put your you save your bishop by putting in bishop h7, and then what happens is this bishop, the white's light square bishop, comes to c4, and after that if you put knight f6 and white castles Actually, what happens is black is behind in development, guys. Here, white quickly develops here, and if you try to develop your pieces by putting e6, what happens is the rook comes to the center, and the king is still in the center, and after that, bishop e7. There is this sacrifice, guys. There is this sacrifice on e6, guys. Now bishop takes e6. After that, you can't take this bishop, because if you take it, then knight takes e6 comes, and you couldn't castle, guys. Knight takes e6, and also the g7 pawn is attacked. Both the queen and the g7 pawn is attacked, and after queen d7, and knight, the other knight joins the attack by knight h5, and the black pieces are not still developed, and they cannot be coordinated. So after that, as you can see how the black attacks you, and I think black has a very good compensation for the piece he sacrificed. So guys, as you see, after this, you can even put h4 and start attacking black. Okay, after this, as you see, guys, how it goes. So this so it's a mistake to put h6 and put bishop h7, because it delays black's development. So you must not be afraid of the exchange of the light squared bishop. Even if white has pair of bishops, it would black would have the advantage of opening his h file. So it would be consolidated, guys. Black would have better position for an attack. Uh, so here, instead of h6, black should, actually, after the exchange of the g6, on g6, black would have a reliable pawn structure and eventual play on the h file, guys. So after knight e2, knight e2, it would be better to go e6 here. It would be better to go e6, and after e6, knight f4, and after knight f4, bishop knight f4, bishop d6, and after bishop d6, knight takes g6, and after knight takes g6, the computer shows it as an inaccuracy. After h takes g6, knight e4, after h takes g6 and knight e4, bishop goes back to e7, and g3. The white actually fianchettos on the king's side to protect his king, because the h file is open. Then after knight f6, bishop g2, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and knight d7, knight d7, and then white castles. If white castles, let's see what the white castles. The computer says that it's a best move. And after white castles, queen a5, guys. Queen a5. I think this is a typical maneuver by queen maneuver. And after queen a5 and c3 here, After c3, first this knight on d7 must go to f6, attacking the bishop. And after knight f6, after knight f6, bishop returns to g2, and after returning, the other rook comes, then rook a d8, rook comes to d8, and white puts his rook on e1, and then black lifts his rook, rook d7, and also queen h5 is also a good move here. Queen h5, for example, if white goes like this, queen e2, it will be better to go queen h5. After queen h5, the computer says to exchange the queens. And after, is it good to take the rook? Oh, it was better to take the pawn instead. Okay, so black's pawn structure is again come to a good line has come. And so as you see, guys, so you must not be afraid to exchange a bishop on g6. Actually, you can have a good development and a reliable pawn structure, and play on h5. Okay, so and I'll show you another method, guys. Here, after knight e2, knight f6, knight e2, knight f6, and knight f4. And then another method to resist black's attack is e5, guys. E5, you must remember this move, e5. And after knight takes g6, h takes g6, there is this h takes g6, there is this d takes e5, and after d takes e5, there is this queen a5 check. After queen a5 check, bishop d2, and there is queen takes d5, and after queen takes e5, there is this queen e2, and after that you can put knight bd7, and after queen takes c5, knight takes e5, bishop c3, and again you can go knight bd7 here, and after bishop c4, if white puts bishop c4, computer shows it an inaccuracy. The black rook can come to h4 to attack the bishop, and after that, after bishop b3, there is knight c5, guys, knight c5, and knight c5. After that, long castles, black has to lose his bishop pair. I'm sorry, white has to lose its bishop pair. And after that, knight takes b3, takes b3, and as you can see, black's play is very easy here. And the white puts his rook on e1, checking the black king, and here bishop e7 and h3, and after h3 black exchanges the rook. Actually it's better to take with the king, and this is how it goes, guys. I just want to show a glimpse of this variation. And so you see, guys, why I showed this both the variations is the exchange of the g6 bishop does not promise white much, so it is better. So he now tries to put pressure on by pushing h4 and also putting bishop c4 and trying to attack the e6 pawn. So let's see that. Okay, after h4, now h6 can be made. After h6 and knight, uh, sorry, 8, after knight e2, then knight f6. Oh, before this, sorry, after this, and he puts first bishop c4, then e6, then knight g2, then knight f6. Now he pushes h4. Now he tries to put h4. Now h6 can be put. So then after knight f4, bishop can be pushed back to h7. So here after that, queen, now white tries to attack on the e6 pawn. Okay, queen e2, but computer shows it as an inaccuracy. Now bishop d6, bishop d6, bishop d6, bishop d6, but computer shows to take the d4 pawn with the queen. It was better to take the d4 pawn. c3, knight bd7, knight bd7, and if now white tries to sacrifice a piece on e6, it shows computer shows a good move. F takes e6, and it was better to castle here. Knight takes e6, knight takes e6, and after queen e7, there comes knight f5. After bishop takes 8, after bishop takes, there is this knight takes g7 check, intermediate move, and after king f7, the knight takes the, okay, after that the queens are exchanged, so white has a decent compensation for the piece he sacrificed. And after that knight takes, king takes, bishop here. So here white's pieces have better chances in the endgame, guys. Actually he has majority on the king side, and also on the other queen side he has 4 pawns for the 3. So he has a very good compensation for the piece sacrificed. So you must know the sacrifice on the e6 pawn. And if he takes with the knight, let's see if it's the correct one. Oh, if instead if white takes with the knight on e6, it's a mistake, guys. After this and after this, let's see what the computer says. And after bishop takes g3, and if takes g3, queen e7 comes, guys. Queen e7, and after castles, bishop comes here. Okay, king takes, queen takes. After that, okay. So it's a mistake to take with the knight, guys. The e6 pawn must be taken with the bishop. So the knight would become a potential attacking piece. So if he takes with the knight, there is no use, because the bishop would be neutralized with the black's light squared bishop. He puts his black's puts his light squared bishop on g8 and neutralizes the white's light squared bishop. And I want to show you another variation, guys. After after bishop c4, bishop c4, and knight f6, knight f6, and knight e2, knight e2, knight e2, and e6, 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 and knight f4, and bishop h7, bishop h7, and bishop e3, bishop e3, bishop d6, bishop e3, bishop d6, and after that queen e2, queen e2, queen e2, and knight bd7, knight bd7, and if here, if after that white goes, I'm sorry, not the white goes gh5, the knight on g5 goes to h5. After that, after the exchange, the only defensive move here is rook g8, guys. Rook g8, and black castles on the queen side. So you see here the defensive move is rook g8, and white tries an attack on the king side with the pawn storm, and after that queen to c7, and after g5 bishop g6, castle long, and black also castles long. After this play goes like this, guys. So I just wanted to show you how to defend the attack on h5. Okay, so I'll come with another video on the knight development to f3, guys. We saw the knight's development to e2 f4 attacking the g6 bishop and the variations that arises. And now let's in next video I'll show you knight's development to f3. Okay, thank you, guys.